Really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Super cringe as always. Eric Butler of TatumReport.com. How are you, good sir?
Oh, living the dream as always. No complaints outside of 110 degrees.
That's insane.
Well,
it was hot.
It's better today.
What'd you do yesterday?
It's only 89 today. I didn't really do much of anything yesterday.
Wow.
I had to work and then just relax, watch some. I ended up in a YouTube binge of Golden State Warriors stuff somehow. So that's how I spent most of my. Actually, that was Friday. No,
was it?
It was. The binge actually lasted 2 days. They have like these long form documentaries about the Golden State Warriors, and it's funny to watch because just 6 or 7 years ago, or 8 years ago, whatever, 2015, 2014, it was like a whole different world. The Warriors were good. We weren't talking about adding men to the WNBA and not kneeling for the anthem. That was the old thing, but the new thing that the other guy from another prominent San Francisco team is
right. Your teams love it.
And I think
he's not going out.
Pattern. There's a pattern here, right?
Yeah, that's San Francisco. He's not going out for the national anthem until the country changes. So until people adopt my opinions, I hate this country.
Yeah.
And there's no way he understands any of it. I looked at the rest of his statement, you can see, and it's just like you're same thing I used to say about Kaepernick, and I can't stand that guy. You're going to be so vehemently against something, but you're not going to explain yourself at all. And why would you not explain yourself? Because you don't have any like advanced knowledge on the subject. But that's not even what we're supposed to be talking about today.
True.
Yesterday I went to a thing called Palladium. Do you have Palladiums where you are?
It's like a
big building with video games in it.
Oh, well, is it like a sports thing? I know we used to have them back in California, but it was more of like a sports thing where you could do like I think there was a whole bunch of stuff, ice skating.
I wish it had that. It's like Dave and Buster's, but even for children, probably. There's a lot of children there, but they serve beer there. We were allowed to walk around with beer, so that was great. Then we went to the Mandarin. Probably don't have that. The buffet, the Mandarin.
And they're not forcing you to show your proof of papers.
No,
right?
But there are old people there wearing masks and gloves still. Like somebody goes up to get their buffet and they're putting gloves on. We have an unconfirmed guest joining us now, Leonarda Jonie, comedian.
What's up, guys?
I don't know, at a water park. At a water park or something?
I'm at a natural spring, so I had to take it. I was like, I'm just going to take it.
It's frozen.
Is it frozen?
Not on my end. I can see you. I can see you. I can hear you.
It's good for everybody else. All right,
yeah,
great.
It's good on my end. Long time.
Hey, what's up?
Well, you got the boot a couple weeks ago.
I did.
Or was that a month? It was a little while ago, maybe a month ago now.
Maybe like a month and a half. They went ahead and banned me, boys. So I'm officially famous. I'm officially on. I'm trying to get in front of the camera. I'm officially on the most wanted list. So.
And if I recall,
Biden's most wanted.
It wasn't. I don't think it was the wildest thing you've ever said.
Dude, I've said way worse things than that sketch. Let me just tell you.
Okay.
I have said, but I think they were tracking me for a long time because I was shadow banned twice, and then I kept getting warnings. One time, apparently, I said something about Hitler being a painter, which was unacceptable. Even though it's a factual observation, they're like. Now, I was like, I didn't say he was only a painter or he was a good painter. I just said he was a painter.
I think.
They also make that joke in It's Always Sunny, of course. I'm shifting gears from Seinfeld to It's Always Sunny. They make the joke about Hitler painting dog paintings or something. So, well, glad you're back. I don't
Those are
know how
funny
you're gonna.
jokes. Those are funny jokes. I don't get why we can't tell them. It's like
Oh,
little Stasi over there.
yeah.
Well, we'll have some content coming up for you, Leonardo, that we know that you enjoy. Dan Crenshaw is the first topic I think we're going to get to. But I wanted to ask you, when did you start doing this Romanian stand-up stuff?
Okay,
'Cause
first of all, it's Albanian.
hilarious.
It's Albanian. What is wrong with you?
You're all gypsies. Doesn't matter.
We're not all gypsies. The Albanians don't like the gypsies.
That's good.
Which is
News
not,
to me.
not good.
Well, I watched the video the
Albanian
other
mom
day. It was
character?
funny. Yeah, it's hilarious.
So I've been doing those Albanian mom sketches for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and then I was doing comedy down here in Austin, and they had like this live variety show, and they're like, "Can you come on as the Albanian mom?" And I was like, "I guess I've never done that, but let's do it." And it worked. I was like, "All right, I guess I could be funny as Albanian mom too. Just have to insult everyone," which is
You're the new Andy Kaufman, I think, is what it is.
pretty standard. But yeah, that was fun. I would be down to do that. People liked it. I'm like, all right, fine. She's just mean and tells you that you ain't shit. So
Yeah. No, it was great. So today we're going to be talking about Dan Crenshaw, not knowing what he claims to not know what the Great Reset is. So Fleckus makes fun of him a little bit. Biden is out of, not my word, bullets for the gas prices. We've also got some Ricky Williams cucking. I'm a little bit disappointed in him. And then Arizona made some chat rooms for children, like it was 2002. That's the year that I'm going with for chat rooms. 2002. I think I was in elementary school. Show our age a little bit there, Eric. I don't remember how old Leonardo is. 23. That's what we'll go with. And so let's jump into this Biden. Sorry, not Biden. Crenshaw, basically Biden at this point, isn't he? Come on, guys.
Dan Crenshaw went to Ukraine to make sure they're getting all of our money okay.
Come on, Andrew. Every time.
Every time. It gets me every time.
And that's what he did. And that's not even the worst of it. Dan did an interview the other day where the podcast guy said, Dan Crenshaw, what do you think about the Great Reset? People are talking about that. They think that you're not doing enough to stop it. What do you think? And here's what Dan Crenshaw replied.
Now, where's it going over the next four to 6 years?
I don't know if I danced around it. I just don't know anything about it.
There are a lot of subjects that touch the Great Reset, or at least the philosophy of the Great Reset.
Yeah, I just don't know much about it.
Okay.
And I don't care either. I think we're obsessing over it on the right a little bit. And look, I have been to the website and I saw, this is why people are saying that, because I did look into that. Okay, they say something about a Great Reset. I don't look into it any more than that. Look, it's a bunch of people. It's an organization that has no real power. I mean, look, there's always going to be people that maybe. I think what they mean by Great Reset is the same thing the Democrats are always saying about. So
he didn't really look into it. Yeah, I don't really care. He doesn't really care. They have no real power. Dan, you went to Harvard, didn't you, Dan? You're a smart guy. You didn't look into it. You didn't do any research. They have no real power, which is interesting because considering what we went through the last 2 years, where unelected groups were basically controlling the entire world's behavior.
Yeah, seems like the Great Reset has hands. Like, I can't fight this thing.
Yeah, so Dan hasn't looked into it. I guess he's busy. But here's what Klaus Schwab is saying.
Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
Dan hasn't looked into it.
Yeah.
But here's Klaus Schwab saying the future will be built by us, the guy who wrote the book, The Great Reset.
The people in this room right now who I've organized together for nefarious reasons.
Knock, knock, Dan. People are here and they're eating our lunch.
Yeah.
Please answer, Dan.
Who wants to go first? Leonardo, do you believe Dan Crenshaw? Is he dumb or is he lying here?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. That's unfortunate. Can you hear me now?
I can hear her just perfect. Fine, I should say.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear her? It's perfect.
You can hear me.
Yes.
All right, I'll just say I like how
difficulties.
Fleckus really hates Dan Crenshaw. It's one of my favorite things. Hold on, let me leave and come back in. Let me see if that'll work.
Okay, so Eric, we can't hear her, but well,
Eric, it's hard for me to believe that an adult person in politics actually has this view. They have no real power. It's just Microsoft and MasterCard and all these other people and every multinational corporation and IBM and Bill Gates and all these people, they can't believe they don't have any power, Eric.
Well, I think what he just has to play his role. As you can see, I'm still at the meeting. I haven't left yet. But well, to me, it just seems like that makes it painfully obvious that he does know, right? He has to. He doesn't want to give up his position, right? He can't go out there, Democrat or Republican. He can't get out there and say we're going to fight back against the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. He has to say, well, I don't know anything about it. Otherwise, he's going to get the boot. And there's also some questions about Tulsi Gabbard, because she's part of the organization as well, or she was speaking at it a couple years back. I'm not really sure, but she seems to be fighting back against it now. So maybe I'm a little bit off topic here, but I think a lot of these people, they muddy the waters on purpose. So this is him kind of playing both sides of the fence. Well, yeah, it might be happening, but I haven't really looked into it. So the Fleckus type of people who want to pick at him all the time, he can kind of dip his toes in there and say, well, yeah, this is why I think they're saying this, but to appease his masters, he has to say, well, yeah, it's not even really, they don't really have any power. So he's playing both sides of the fence. He is so that way he always comes out on top, right? So good job, Dan, playing both sides of the fence. True political, know-how.
He's 100%
Can you hear us
shady.
now?
The guy,
There you go.
yeah,
Great.
I can hear you guys. He's 100% shady. He's so shady. He's like, first of all, you could tell he's lying there because he didn't have a prepared answer, which he won't be caught off guard like that again. But he's in there and he's fumbling. Well, yeah, I don't really know anything. I didn't hear anything. I don't care about it. I was like, okay, you're lying. Then the second thing is like, well, yeah, yeah, I read about it. I read a little bit about it, and let me just say, I don't know anything, but I know they don't have any power. I'm just gonna say that. Daddy Schwab writes my checks. I can't talk about this.
It kind of reminds me of another early Fleckus clip from a couple of years ago when Jerry Nadler famously said that Antifa is just an idea, and it's like we can all here, we can watch it, bro. I know you think that we can't see you, but we can see you. Like you're not. He literally wrote a book about it. We can all see it, and you're just I don't know too much about that. Maybe I'll look into it. And I don't know. I didn't watch the whole. We're doing like this podcast Inception thing where we're watching a clip from another podcast and he's watching a clip from another podcast, and I haven't seen the original, but maybe did that guy follow up at all? Like, so do you plan to look into it? You say you don't care, you say you don't know anything about it. Is that on the radar? Is that something you want to look into, especially right now, since I assume, did it just finish their little meeting or whatever, the little ritual? Is it still going? I don't know. But now might be the time for you to look into it, Dan.
Well, he's not going to. I mean, people need to give up this thing to get him to say the truth and recognize just who he is. Like, you need to just recognize that. He's working for them. That's it. He's not going to come out. He's not on your side. He's not on the Republican side. I mean, the whole Republican Democrat side, we need to give that up too. And we need to be like, do you stand for truth and for America? Period. The end. That's it. Those are the questions. I don't really care about your political affiliation. It's, do you care about preserving this country and not ushering in a one global government where we're all going to basically be slaves with a digital ID that, like, every time we even think the wrong thing, it penalizes us points. So people just sometimes need to realize, like, this is who you're dealing with. Just deal with them. I mean, Klaus Schwab's dad worked in the Third Reich. So why are we being like, is this guy a bad guy? I mean, God's like, how much more obvious can I make it? The guy is like, we're going to take everything from you. Right? And everyone's like, is this guy a bad guy? Is this a bad guy?
For Dan Crenshaw to not know anything about it, he's ignoring Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, the Prime Minister of Australia, Prime Minister of New Zealand, and the Prime Minister of England all at once. They've all been talking about it. They've all been doing the talking points of Build Back Better. If he doesn't even know the origin of the major platform of the party that he's against in his own country, then I would call you a very bad politician and very bad at your job. And secondly, if he's like, I'm not going to look, I don't care, then you don't care about, like, literally the opposing force for which you're supposed to be standing. on one side, like Leonarda said, you have like freedom and liberty and all what I think most would consider the good stuff, whether you're Democrat or Republican or something like that. But for him to be not caring about the opposite side of that, which is, globalization, you don't own anything, everything is basically done, and the government takes care of you, while you don't get a choice in anything, eat the bugs,
Takes
etc.
care of you.
Yeah, I think
Eat the bugs.
he's really just not doing a good job. And on top of that, he is part of the club that's like $50 billion to Ukraine. His stance is a very Warhawk stance of, oh, we're supposed to just let these people do what they want. So interventionist, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. And I wouldn't trust him. People have been ripping on him from the start. And he's said he was pro red flag law and then was not pro it. And then he argued with a child about the Bible. There's so many times where he's lost his cool a little bit in like really easy situations. And
He's
basically to
clearly
say, I don't
another
care.
villain. It's like, once again, God's like, how much more obvious do you want me to make it? I gave him an eye patch. Here you go. He's coming in like, yeah, I'm one of the good guys. I'm going to tell you this. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Whoa, you're going real Pete Davidson here.
I do think, though, on the plus side, and maybe this is naive, I don't know, but I think, though, that there's a larger swath of people who can see through it than, of course, the media would have us believe, right? I always would say that the media works in a two-pronged approach, right? It's easy to brainwash stupid people. That happens every single day. We're doing the gun control argument, the same one that we do every 5 or 6 years, probably even more, every 3 or 4 years. But I think more people can see through it, and the media on one side is brainwashing morons, but they're also tricking regular people into thinking that they are truly in the minority, and that's just not accurate. I think if you really go out there and you actually talk to people and drive around the country, not nobody, but very few people are going to say, yeah, I think the world, because the people in California and New York perhaps are going to say, like, what's the World Economic Forum? Who's Klaus Schwab? But a lot of people are going to say, no, these people are completely overstepping the bounds. I don't like it at all. Nobody's going to say, very few people are going to say, well, yeah, I've looked into the World Economic Forum and I know a lot about Klaus Schwab and Dan Crenshaw, and I think they're doing great for us. Nobody's going to say that. So this is them in their last little, throes of desperation, and hopefully it won't. I mean, who knows how long this could last? But the point is, I think more people are seeing through it than obviously the media would have us even want to believe.
Well, like we saw last week. Oh, go ahead.
I think they don't want us. So that we have to realize that is their power. Their power is in getting us to believe that we're alone. So if you think you're the only one, you're going to be like, these other stupid people, I can't do anything, right? Because nobody else believes it. So there is the sense of like they want to convince more people to believe what they believe, but more importantly, what they really want to get across is to make you think you're alone. Yes. And make you think that everybody thinks you're this crazy lunatic, which they don't. I did this show yesterday here in Texas, and there was this German family there, and they had their kids there, and I was like, I'm not an appropriate comedian for your children, but okay. Anyway, the mom comes up to me with her 2 daughters afterward, and she's like, we just want to thank you. I can't do this German accent, but whatever. You guys, Zing, hey, I'd like to thank you for your talk. You really spoke the truth. This is why we came here from Germany, because they were doing crazy things in Germany, and we didn't want to go through that again. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, there's people who have, like, there's probably like 1,000 more people for every one of her who didn't leave, but saw how insane it was.
Yes, absolutely. And just really briefly, another thing about the media manipulation, which we can all see, we're beating a dead horse. We've all been documenting it and talking about it for at least a couple years now. But another thing I noticed just walking around my neighborhood here in Arizona, I'm not even exaggerating, like you could see a BLM sticker on a car, you could see a Trump sticker on a car, you could see a rainbow flag sticker on a car, and all of these people live in the same apartment complex. Everybody seems to get along. It's very It's a very quiet little neighborhood. Nobody really has a problem. So that's another thing. It's like these people can 100% live together. And last thing about the media manipulation, seeing these cars with these opposing viewpoints stuck to the bumpers reminded me of when my car broke down in Wisconsin, and I was at an auto mechanic that was plastered with USA stuff and Trump stuff, literally stickers on the front of it, and a woman in a minivan literally full of Biden campaign signs has to go there to get her minivan repaired. So this is a woman who has probably been going to this mechanic for decades, and she's not going to change just because the guy has Trump stuff. So the point is, people can totally live together, but when you turn on that TV, when you look at CNN YouTube channel, they all want you to believe that, of course, every single Trump supporter is a racist, violent bigot, and all the left-wing people are BLM, terrorists burning down cities, which, whatever, up for debate. But the bottom line is they're manipulating all of us, but they're doing it in separate ways, is what I think is happening. And luckily, we're able to see through it. I don't know how we get more people to see through it, or as I ask every single week, how do we climb out of this, wet paper bag of disgusting filth? So I don't know.
Well, how's your gas prices, Eric?
Not good, bro. Not good.
I don't know the conversion rate, but ours is absurd. I just learned that you can get 3 cents off using Canada's version of AAA card at select gas stations. The Dutch gas station Shell, you can use Canadian AAA to get 3 cents off, but it's wonderful. I'll take my 3 cents off all day. And that's my story there. That's my wonderful story. Why don't you explain this next story to us, Eric?
I heard you could get about $3 off a gallon if you just get rid of your president. That's what I heard.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I think you should just get an electric car, personally.
Get an electric car, 80K, 60K or something. I don't really have that dough right now, but once the
what's going to power the charging station? Who cares? It doesn't matter.
But we're told not to do Tesla because Elon Musk is evil. So you got to buy a Ford electric, or Chevy
Spark.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. What story? What are we going to next? Which one?
Chevy Spark, the mobile tampon mobile. Arizona Department of Education promotes chat rooms for kids to talk about sex and gender. So nothing's more normal than adults saying, "Hey, kids, go into this room where we can monitor you talking about sex." Do you want to explain this, Eric?
Yeah, so I thought this kind of connected with the story that we did last week about the non-binary marathon running teacher, right? Because we're told that the teachers aren't, there's no grooming because, the grooming is done without intent. Of course, that's the Politico explanation. But the Department of Education in Arizona is promoting these chat rooms, I guess. One of them specifically is supposed to be without
their parents?
without their parents being notified and stuff. And
I think we got to take a look at them too.
It's pretty clear that they're just even if you want to play it nice and say that these people are doing this unconsciously, which is which is being generous. This is such an obvious
chat.
Example.
This a conspiracy chat?
Yeah.
That is funny that they're calling it Q chat.
You would think somebody, I actually didn't even think about that, but you would think somebody in the organization would have said, no, we can't use Q because Q is the crazy conspiracy. I really also like the term or the phrase election denier. I think I saw that in Newsweek or something that, the election deniers, which nobody denies that an election happened, but neither here nor there. What they're doing.
Space. The topic is dysphoria and ways to deal with it. And then they just say like how everybody is going to introduce themselves and their pronoun. Sam goes by AM.
Oh, that's a new one. That's a new one.
He, him, and his. Like what? In what world do you have to just announce? Like it's so insane.
It's the
continue, Eric.
No, well, we made it, right? We've reached the peak, or I hope this is the peak. I don't really know, but it's pretty obvious that they are trying to, in conjunction. I don't know. At the same time that this is happening in San Francisco, where they mask the story about the non-binary teacher winning a marathon when in reality it's a story about a guy grooming kids and teaching a class that's similar to health. This is what I assume this similar to health thing is like. So they can kind of mask it by saying, oh, well, it's about mental health and it's about inclusion and exception. But obviously this is just them trying to confuse kids. I mean, this has happened all so fast, bro. Like when I was in school, and I'm not that old yet, but when I was in school, even in college, I've said this before, I went to college in San Francisco, like where this stuff kind of comes from, San Francisco, Portland, and it wasn't this extreme. Like, yeah, you had gay guys and drag queens, but nobody was pretending that a little kid can just choose their gender. And now we have it to the point where, I mean, are we really supposed to think that this is not going, it's not going to sway the kids? Like, oh, well, this is just all about acceptance and inclusion. No, this is about not inclusion, but confusion, if you ask me. And then that way, these children will be completely dependent, I should say, on these weirdo teachers and on these weirdo ideologies, so that as soon as somebody says, wait, that doesn't really make sense, they just lash out at them and say, well, that person's a bigot and they don't trust you to be who you are. So it's not real. It's all completely fake. And I think, again, that more people can see through this than the media will have us believe. Knock on wood.
Look at these events here. This is just some of the past events, and they're all May 14th, facial surgery. May 7th, vaginoplasty. April 16th, top surgery. Black trans and non-binary teen discussion group. Black trans and non-binary teen discussion
You know what?
group.
Oh, we're doing the black trans thing.
A lot of those.
I think we should one up them. I think we're going about this all wrong. We're like, no, don't talk to us about kids. I want to be like, yeah, no. Let's go ahead and talk to the kids about it. Let's go ahead and tell the kids how we got to cut their penis open, flip it around, and basically create a gaping hole in their body, which they can pretend is a vagina. They'll never feel anything again. And they'll have to take a bunch of drugs, antibiotics, to keep them from getting an infection with the open hole in their body. Let's just go ahead and talk to them about that. Let's go all the way. Let's bring in some people who've had these gender reassignment surgeries, which are basically castration and sterilization surgeries. Let's go ahead and let them talk to you about how they still want to kill themselves because now they're really in the wrong body. Let's just go.
I really don't understand the idea of the person who's just like, I am the right one to talk to these kids about their sexuality, their gender, and I will be the one who will monitor the room. What type of person says that they want to do that? And it's always the type of person we know.
It's the type of person you don't want talking to your kids about gender and sex. Like, I'm
you don't
around
want
little
anyone
kids all
other
the
than
time.
yourself talking to your kids about that. I don't know any both
even
two of my
parents
siblings
don't want to
have
talk to their kids about it.
Yeah.
Well, and then we also have, to your point, Leonarda, there's this went viral a long time ago. I think it was like a Reddit post or something about, without getting too graphic here, the smell that lingered after one of these operations. I mean, it's just some of the most vile stuff you would ever want to think about. So perhaps you're right. I actually think that's a pretty good idea. We can talk, but of course, they're not going to talk to them truthfully about it, right? They're not going to talk to you about
That's what
the
I'm
hatchet
saying.
wound that
That's
they
what I'm
left.
saying. Okay, fine. You guys want to do that? We'll meet you where you're at. We're coming to the event. We're bringing our own people. They're trans. They're trans people. Let's go ahead. No, let's go ahead. You can't just have a one-sided conversation. Let's go all the way. I guarantee you, none of those kids will grow up wanting a reassignment surgery. They'll be like, how about if I get some therapy instead?
Yeah,
If you're wondering what Leonarda's last 10 minutes, her newest 10 minutes are for her stand-up, you just heard it right there.
Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about it.
And I like when you were doing the German accent, all you did was raise your voice. It was the same as the other accent. It was just a higher volume.
Listen, first of all, the accent I do is the same. It's generally foreign. That's it. That's what you have to know.
It's like my single accent
bigoted.
is like my Cuomo, like New York Italian type of Cuomo.
Old
Fauci
New
type of
Yorker
thing.
Italian guy is Eric's only accent.
Yeah, the cure for the virus is at the bottom of the East River. How about you pop off there, huh? And get the vaccine is at the bottom of the river there.
How many 80s mobsters movies have you watched this week?
Actually, not that many. Yeah.
You want to
actually,
go
I need to
where the
watch
fish
more.
is. And Carlito, I think you want to be swimming with the fishes.
Speaking of, maybe this is perhaps a little bit off topic, but did you guys hear that a body floated up? I think it was either in the East River or the Hudson River. Some gangsters. So I think, don't quote me here, I think they were like more new age black gangsters, like just regular Flatbush thugs or something. And they let oxygen get into this guy's cement boots, and he floated up to the top. Neither here nor there. But last thing, really quick, and I think it was Matt Walsh or maybe one of the Daily Wire guys who said a similar thing about actually having these conversations. He, of course, used the abortion example because when you talk to a crazy person about abortion, at this point today, in whatever May 29th or whatever, 2022, they're not gonna. They will stick to the gun so heavily that they will tell you that you can kill a baby moments before it's born. But they don't really want to talk about that. So when you actually ask them the questions, then the truth has to come out. And so perhaps we should be having more conversations about both of these things. So that way, because we know that as soon as Leonarda shows up at the classroom and starts telling the kids about the realities of transgender operations, they're not going to be on that bandwagon anymore.
I'm going to show up as Albanian mom to these events. I'm like, no, let's come. I want to tell you how in my country we did this surgery too. It was our communist president. He said, you disobey the government, so now we will turn your penis into vagina. And
I had an Albanian friend in the military. He had some pretty crazy stories about getting like locked down by, this is a hard right turn, locked down by sniper fire for 2 days, didn't sleep for 2 days, stuck in his garage with his mother because there was just a guy military pointing a gun at them for 2 days.
Like what year was that? It was a long time ago, I can assume.
Early 90s, isn't it?
Yeah, and where, in Albania or Kosovo?
Kosovo.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was terrible war there. That's like the one good thing NATO did, but even then they went in and trafficked people afterward. It was pretty terrible, but they did end the genocide that was being committed against the Albanians there, which is true. That
the Armenian genocide, is that the one?
No, the Albanian genocide.
Oh yeah,
the Armenian genocide was the Turks.
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't ask Cenk, remember?
Exactly. I was thinking
that was a good bit for a few years where they refused to say it, and then finally they had to. I mean, they're called the Young Turks.
I mean, he did that on purpose. He's like, it's like when you ask Dan Crenshaw about the World Economic Forum and he pretends not to know. They knew what they were doing. That's why they called themselves the Young Turks.
But Crenshaw is on that panel, right? Isn't there like maybe this is fake news, but wasn't he like him along with Tulsi Gabbard on this like the little panel flyer
World
thing?
Economic Forum.
So he was on there and then he goes on a podcast and pretends that he doesn't really know what it's all about. Got it.
Yeah.
All right,
what if they just did that to screw with people, though? Just like throw everyone on it because then they're going to have no choice but to be associated with us, whether they're part of it or not. But you could get sued for that, but they don't. Same thing happens here. All the politicians deny being on their website. But I digress, and I move on to Joe Biden's gas prices. We were talking about that earlier. Ours are insane. And even the Business Insider, who is known scumbags, are saying that there are not any other options for Biden to use right now. They're saying that he already used his biggest bullet, his administration. He's scrambling to lower gas prices ahead of the midterms, but has few tools to use. So just buy an electric car. U.S. gas prices have hit record highs, and strategic petroleum release won't be able to bring them down. There are very few tools the administration has because the biggest driver for gasoline prices are driven by global fundamentals. I'm going to disagree with that right off the top, you guys. I'm going to say closing down pipelines and then telling people that it's okay that the gas prices are rising because it's Russia's fault is a way to have, one, higher gas prices, and two, force people to push people in a way that they're not going to be aware of the real reason. So if you're going to say that Russia's to blame for everything, and people are going to be like, oh, it's out of our hands, we can do nothing about it, then the prices are going to go up again. And considering Russia's inflation is not nearly as high, and Canada's inflation isn't as high as the U.S., and they don't buy any more oil from Russia, how can this be all happening? Like, they don't have a dependency on Russia for their oil. How can this be happening in the United States? They are out of lies, I guess you could say, Eric.
Yeah, and on top of this, didn't Joe Biden recently say that, well, once this is all over, it's a great transition. I mean, basically pushing the electric car thing again and saying like, well, yeah, once we get out of this, it'll be, we're gonna come out the other side and it'll be much better. I'm pretty sure just alluding to there being more electric cars, but it's just so short-sighted, right? Because depending on the week, we hear every single week basically for the past 4 or 5 months, Joe Biden's approval rating plunges to lowest level yet, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, he initially can say, I mean, on his first day in office with a stroke of a pen, he shut down these pipelines. Gas immediately started to go up. Then they blamed it on Putin, while also at the same time kind of saying that, well, maybe this is a good thing. And so they just keep on flip-flopping back and forth. They think we're all really stupid, which, I mean, there are a good amount of stupid people out there, but I don't think even, and look at this too, by the way, we don't even talk about the baby formula thing anymore. So it's just like one thing after the other. They want to make sure that the next thing becomes so extreme that you have no choice but to forget the last thing. And that's exactly what we saw with this thing out in Texas, right? It's like, well, now you don't get to talk about inflation, gas prices, border crisis. You don't get to talk about any of that because right now, all you need to do is focus on screaming about how much you love your gun or how much you hate guns, and everything else has basically been wiped clean. And we see this every week or so. They drop a new thing on us and expect us to forget all of the old stuff. But it's not working, and it will fail. We are quite literally in this like, we have this civil conflict going on at the same time that there's a global level conflict happening with these World Economic Forum people and regular people who just want to be left alone in their own country. So those things are both happening at the same time. And Joe Biden stammering and stuttering about gas prices and, seizing friends of Putin's yachts and stuff. It's all just a complete distraction. And if I want to go full tinfoil hat, it's just a little bit strange that after all the lockdowns and them telling us not to leave the house, gas is creeping up on $7. It's already $7 a gallon in California. So what better way to make sure that you do remain alone and you think that you're the only person, you stay in the house, you don't drive anywhere. It's all part of this. It's all part of this plan. And hopefully, I mean, we literally watched all the election irregularities, and we're supposed to think that this has nothing to do with it. This is obviously a continuation because love him or hate him, you can say that Trump was in on it, or he works for the pharmaceutical industry, whatever the case might be. It's just the numbers just don't lie. When I left South Dakota before Joe Biden was president, gas was $1.97. So
now it's 3 trillion.
That's what it. Yeah. Well, that's what I happen to think that everything is bullshit. This is for me. I always go, that's fake. That's fake. That's fake. I think the gas prices are being artificially inflated just to it's like, okay, there's a couple things. Number one, I think it's to profit the gas companies. Number two, it's to cause fear and scarcity and the sense of like, at any moment, this is what we're going to do to you. And number three, it's just simply to torture people because they love to do that. I think the same thing is true about the baby formula shortage. I'm sure that it maybe was missing from some stores. I don't really believe that there was a shortage. I didn't see it for myself where I was. It was the same time that they were saying there was food missing from the shelves. All the stories about the war in Ukraine and Russia are lies. They continually tell us that Russia is losing the war. It's 100% not true. They're BSing. They're full of it. And they're doing this for a particular end, which I think is just basically something we've all been hip to the last few years, which is this push towards a one world government and breaking down America's spirit and sort of self-sufficiency, right? And Joe Biden is no more in charge of this than an Alzheimer's patient would be. He's just literally like wherever you put him, and they know nobody. That's why you gotta think about this. They never report the truth unless they're trying to get a certain agenda. So they keep shoving, both channels keep shoving in our face the low approval ratings of Joe Biden. They want you to know that nobody likes him. They want you to know this, okay? Because they want you to place all your hate on him. It's kind of the inverse of what they were doing with Trump. Like, if you guys remember with Trump, they wanted us all to hate him, but for a different reason, right? Because he was supposed to be this evil guy. And now it's like, oh, we don't really want you to hate him, but you do, so go for it. So it's the same thing. Just don't look behind the curtain at the powers that be that are actually in charge of the agendas that are not serving your country.
Yeah, and I genuinely have no idea who's actually in charge. I think that's a question that we're all asking. It's obviously not Joe Biden. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. You know, that man. He doesn't know a gas tank from a ham sandwich. He doesn't know what's going on. But I think also, to your point about it all just being fake. Now, I 100% look. I don't want to get us kicked off or anything, but even as far as this, every single thing that happens, you certainly have to take it with a grain of salt. Every single thing can totally be a lie. But on top of them just creating fear for everybody and just creating the fear in different ways for different groups of people, if they inflate these gas prices and they create this shortage on baby formula, and don't say things don't follow through how they want, they can just bring it all back down and then tell you that they fixed it, right? So it's a pretty good play as far as they're concerned. So if heaven forbid there's a true uprising and people all across the country, all across the world can stand up and say no more, then it all starts to go back down, and they'll just tell you, oh well, we did this, and this one thing that we did brought the gas prices back down, and we invoked the Defense Production Act, and now the baby formula is back, so we saved you. So either way, they still win. It's chess, not checkers, for sure.
I have a different conspiracy. I'll go ahead, Leonarda.
If people got to the point of what you're talking about, where they were worldwide up in arms, they're not going back down just because you bring the prices out. They're not. It's so much more than that. I mean, it is. And people want to talk about these mass shooters, and they want to ignore the FBI and CIA connection. And it's like, hi guys. You want to stop mass shooters? Just dismantle the FBI and the CIA, or get them to stop picking on mentally ill teenagers.
Yeah,
I have a different conspiracy related to the gas. What if, I won't bring you guys in on this for my own conspiracy. What if because you have to assume that if the gas prices go too high, people stop buying it. That's not good for the oil and gas industry, because I don't think there's a scarcity either. But what if that is people who disagree with Biden and the World Economic Forum, trying to accelerate the disdain people have for Biden and Trudeau and these people? However, Trudeau was for the pipeline, the Keystone pipeline. He had no choice because it makes him lots of money that he can spend elsewhere than other than his own country. But what if the gas giants are upping their prices to artificially accelerate the anger of the American people against Joe Biden by saying, look, he can't keep the gas prices down? Because that's what people pay attention to in every election cycle, is the gas prices. And you would think that if they want Joe Biden to get reelected, they would bring the gas prices down and stop this push for, the electricity billionaires or the green energy billionaires. What if they're actually doing this on purpose to hurt Joe Biden, that being a oil and gas organization or a conglomerate that's generally more Republican leaning and, George Bush sort of leaning? Any thought on that, you guys?
Nothing's off the table.
Well, very insightful, Eric.
That's it. I mean, no,
that's what they say here when they say they're going to probably institute more COVID laws. Nothing's off the table.
Well, I mean, that's where we are now. I mean, right? Like, reality show star Donald Trump was president. Kanye West can run for president. I mean, literally nothing is off the table, bro. Like Dan Crenshaw running around with his eye patch talking about he doesn't know what the World Economic Forum is. Like, we're so deep into this insanity. Men are women, women are men. Chop it off. You can go swimming with the girls, go in the girls' locker room. I mean, to say that anything is impossible, I think would be naive at this particular point in time.
They say that he's still got other options here, which is a waiver for higher ethanol gasoline blends for 20 days in May. So if they can just which will temporarily allows more gas to enter the market and expands the available volume of fuel. So it sounds to me like they can allow for more gas to be traded. They just don't want to. Like if you haven't like the way they kind of explain it to people is there's no more gas, releasing the reserves of fuel from, which is like, I don't know, I think it was 2 years worth they have under Obama. They bolstered that up and Trump expanded it more. So if they're saying that that doesn't help, then they're kind of, it makes it sound like they're saying that we don't have the fuel to give to you to make the prices go down. But when you see things like they can make it a special waiver for 20 days that temporarily allows more gasoline to enter the market and expands the available volume of fuel, doesn't that kind of sound like they can make other laws to make more fuel available and make the market go down? Like, how does do you guys know how this works, or am I
I don't really know how it works, but they obviously can't be trusted. I mean,
it
if they
creates
can
smog apparently.
they can pass some waiver that will create more gas. They can also just blank point the finger at Putin. I mean, of course you can just do anything. We're at the point where to me, yeah, I guess for lack of a better term, it just all seems fake when we're talking about $1 trillion deficits and 40 billion to Ukraine and all this stuff. It's like these are things that you're just completely making up, bro. Like you're gonna
Well, look at
print out
this
this.
part. It says another move for Biden is to implement a federal tax holiday on gasoline for the summer, which the governor of Georgia's already done, suspending a 29-cent per gallon motor fuel tax. So right there, they got rid of 30 cents off of the price at the pump. And we know up here that they have a carbon tax that they've upped in the last few months. So they could take it down, but when you've got Biden or Trudeau running things, they want you to not be able to afford it so that you either aren't participating in the world and all the points you made about staying home and being isolated, or you're going to be pushed towards buying an electric vehicle, which of course doesn't actually help the environment because of what it takes to charge power those fueling stations, and the lithium batteries and whatnot. You might think it does, but it will push you to buy an electric car, which helps their preferred billionaires, which is what I keep going back to, is it's the battle of whose billionaires are better. My oil and gas billionaires are wonderful. They've been around for so long. Don't you love them? Well, I've got some green energy billionaires, and they actually care about the environment, not just about making billions of dollars.
And it's the same thing because Gavin Newsom out in California, I think there was some bill that they were trying to pass that was going to suspend the gas tax. Of course, Newsom wouldn't allow, I don't know exactly. You'd have to fact check me. I don't know exactly how it happened, but it didn't go through. So they upped the gas tax rather than eliminate the gas tax, driving the prices even further through the roof. And then Gavin Newsom says, "Well, you know what? Maybe we'll do gift cards or a tax credit or something." So he just wants to basically print more money, and California has this big surplus of funds. So he doesn't want to eliminate the tax, which could actually help people save, 35 or 40 cents a gallon. He just wants to up the tax and then print out more money and then give it back to you. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's all absolute nonsense. I'm not an economist. I'm not a oil billionaire, but something doesn't really add up. And yeah, it's probably all fake. We're gonna live through it just fine, kind of like how we did with Rona.
You're not a biologist either.
I'm not a biologist.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense if you're not trying to run a scam. But if you're trying to run a scam, it makes perfect sense.
True. And they are good at scamming us, bro. They are good at that. It's been going on for quite some time. I didn't even realize how big of a scam the whole thing was, probably until Obama. And I was like, oh, they they got you. They tricked us. They put this black guy in there. Everybody celebrated. And
Obamacare was one of the things where I started to realize how easily they'll just be like, this is a great thing for you, even though it's actually just a tool for us to make money.
Absolutely.
The last topic is former NFL star Ricky Williams has changed his name to fix a marriage imbalance. Now, I love Ricky Williams. He, he chose the plant over the football, and now he is, I don't know, I can't wait to hear one of our guests' opinions on this. I'm just muting you because you can hear children and nature in the background, so don't be offended. Former Miami Dolphins running back Ricky Williams said it was really meaningful to legally change his name during an appearance on the Dan Le Batard show. kind of an idiot, Dan Lipitard. Williams, who retired in 2012, explained that he's changed his name to Eric Myron to take the last name of his wife. But that's two names. So Williams went by Ricky throughout his career, but his actual birth name is Eric. Okay. I did it probably a year and a half ago, made it official. Something I've been thinking about and talking about, and I finally went through the steps. I went to the Social Security office with my marriage certificate, blah, blah, blah. It was very meaningful. Leonardo, first reaction to you on that?
I would divorce him right away. I would be like, I didn't marry no bitch. So if that's what you want, that's fine. But I'm not going to be with a homosexual. So have fun.
Two groups of people do this a lot. French people do it a lot for some reason in Quebec,
French people
Canada.
they take their wives.
Well, they double up the names, is what I meant. They do hyphenated names, and
It's
English
just
people
not
do
that.
it as well.
I'm sorry. It's not that. Like, I get it. Oh, we want to be equal. Blah, blah, blah. If you have ever seen a relationship where the woman is like running the show and the guy is like, okay, you feel bad. You feel bad for the guy. As a woman, you're like, yeah, I'm so sorry that that's happening to you, but maybe you should man up. You know, as a woman, I want a guy who can like hold the line. I'm not saying, smack me around the kitchen or something, but like, because I can run over people. Like, I'm a very forceful character. So if you let me do that, to you, then I don't respect you. And then it's all off the table, which is the same thing. Like, if a woman lets a man just abuse her, he doesn't respect her, and then it's all off the table. So it's women abuse differently than men do, as we saw with Amber Heard. Our abuse is more psychological, emotional, because that's our strength.
Little
Whereas,
bit of
do you ever wonder how like AOC's husband is, or fiance now, I guess, or whatever?
Oh, she probably sucks that man's cock like it's her job, because let me tell you, that woman is all talk. She married a guy who's got a bunch of money. He's not taking no shit from her. He's like, first of all, she knows that she's bought and paid for. He knows she's bought and paid for. And then he's like, I'm also buying and paying for you. So don't run your mouth around here. You can run your mouth on Capitol Hill with all those little bitches, but you're not going to run your mouth around here. I guarantee you. Guarantee you.
Well, all I was going to say on the subject was I think it's pretty obvious that when a man, like, I think the default stance for a man 98% of the time is going to be, I would prefer it be my last name. I'm sure there are many men who don't really care, but it comes more from the side of if a woman's asking a man if for her to take his name, then she probably does run the show. But if a guy is doing it voluntarily, I think it's just what Ricky Williams is going through. He's trying to do it to appease her in some way. If the man doesn't care and he's just I'm really not attached to it.
It's a white woman with a black man, and she's like, we're going back. We're going to do this the old-fashioned way.
Well, Ricky Williams has said in documentaries that he grew up in a very mixed-race neighborhood, and when he was around white people, he felt he could be more himself because he didn't have an I'll just say black accent. We'll call it, Eric, I guess.
Right, the black accent.
He said he didn't have one of those, so he felt himself faking who he is a bit more around his black friends because they would make fun of him if he sounded too white. Ricky Williams, email me if I'm getting any of this wrong. So I don't think him being with a white woman has much pull in this relationship.
Oh no, I was just making the joke about how white women are Karens, and they're like, you're gonna have my last name, mine.
What do you identify as?
I'm black. So
Albania, Albanian. I can't do the Albania accent. I can't.
It's pretty good.
Here's what I don't know, bro. The guy's 45
now.
He's 45 years old, though, right? Like, he's a grown man. We're not talking about some guy getting married at 22 or 25. He's 45 years old. I think he's already been with this woman. And to be honest with you, of course, this is him capitulating to the weirdo. I mean, he can't fully say like, oh, I'm transgender or I'm gay or I'm bisexual. That's not going to work.
Dwayne Wade.
So yeah, so this is like the next best thing to capitulate to the weirdo gender identity equity mob. And to be honest with you, as bad as corny or as maybe as I don't know, like traditional as this may seem, I think he's Bro, he just smoked his brains out. He's smoking too much weed. He doesn't know what's going on. And then one day he says, "Oh, bro, like I think I'm gonna change my name to my wife's name." What are you talking about, dude? Like
Listen to
you're
his
45 years
excuses.
old.
Listen to his reasons. It's worth like I was giving him too much credit now that I read on. This tends to happen. I found that it's been really powerful in creating ease, intimacy, and trust in my relationship, Williams said, explaining that he took an astrology class with his wife, which helped him learn about their dynamic as a couple. Eric Butler of TatumReport.com. Astrology.
Let me tell
How
you
does
what's
it make-
happening right now. Let me tell you what's happening right now. She's
Please
pegging
do.
him. She's pegging him. And he's like, yes, I'm your little bitch. Yes. I mean, as soon as you said that it created intimacy, I was like, yeah, okay, she's pegging you. That's what's happening. That's what you mean. You're like, you could do all kinds. Listen, I've been in toxic, abusive relationships. You can talk yourself into all kinds of things. I've seen people in toxic, abusive relationships. I've seen, I had a friend who was like dating this very fundamentalist Muslim guy, and she stopped wearing nail polish, stopped wearing like cute clothing. She's all about fashion. She's like, no, I like it. I like it. And I was like, no, you don't, but I'll be here for you when you come out. And when she came out, she was like, I don't know what was going on. I'm sorry. I'm back to being a slut. And I was like, welcome home. Welcome home.
Unbelievable. Eric, there's even more. Talking about
it's
how
racist.
his name. Yes, exactly. His name wasn't his real last name. My grandma, obviously, back then, you don't say anything. And so Williams was her husband's name, but wasn't my dad's father. So Williams is not even really my last name. I mean, it is. But, and if you go back far enough, its idea of it is a slave name. So I think of what is even the purpose of a last name. And I find more meaning in this last name than Williams. So after 45 years of being Williams, and to a lesser extent Ricky Williams, even though that was a nickname, now all of a sudden you find more meaning in it because you've discovered astrology with your wife, and now astrology and changing your name has, what did he call it? Made it more dynamic. Changing his name has created ease, intimacy, and trust. I don't see, like, this isn't Dr. Phil, this isn't Dr. Drew, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, one, changing your name does not create trust in your relationship, nor does it increase intimacy. And two, astrology is not a thing that you should be basing your relationship on.
That's because he's
Capricorn?
just high. He's just high as a kite. He doesn't know what's going on. Going to astrology, like, look, on no shade, like you could smoke joints all day and you go to astrology class with your wife and that changes it, bro. You're completely off balance, and fine. Okay, so do you think now? I mean, did you not trust her? Did she not trust you? What was actually happening? How did this actually create more trust?
He had to go to an
She was
astrology
bitching
class
at
to
him
find
every
out.
day.
I'll do the astrology class,
every
babe.
day he was coming home. Every day he was coming home, she was like, Ricky, you said you were going to do it. Ricky, you said you were going to do it. Ricky, you said you were going to do it. So he's like, it's created ease. This bitch has shut up.
That was kind of like
Lucy?
She sounded like a little Long Island. I don't know what accent that was.
Ricky.
No, Mookie, I don't want to do it. It's too hot outside.
Yeah, we all have different impressions for the same thing. It's wonderful. There's something else I want to say before we go, but I don't think there's anything else to say. Are you at a water park? What's going on there?
I'm at a
hot spring.
Cold spring. It's a cold spring.
I don't know what that is. What I was going to ask you guys are, what are the marijuana laws in Texas and Arizona?
Marijuana laws in Texas are don't ask, don't tell.
It's completely legal here. There's weed shops on every corner. It's actually pretty annoying. Well, it's annoying. It's like
kids with the marijuana.
Look, I have no problem with weed. I used to work in the cannabis industry many years ago back in San Francisco. But I can see how manipulative it is, right? Especially coming from like seeing. Look, and I learned this. I learned this about a year ago when I was writing an article about medical marijuana and the wonders of CBD. Fun fact: George Soros was a heavy proponent of medical cannabis back in the early 90s in California. So it's just like I have no problem with smoking a joint every now and then, but like these things, it goes legal, it pops up on every corner. It's all about these tax dollars. It's become so far, gotten so far away from just like being a cool thing you do to relax to this completely political manipulative thing that politicians are taking advantage of, and now these stores are in every corner and everybody, and it's all marketing. Oh, the Girl Scout cookies, man. Like, it's all, dude, it's weed. It's weed. Like, stop pretending
Well,
like, oh, it has I
up
named
here,
it this, like a pet
they're
or something,
everywhere.
bro. It's fake.
Up here, they're everywhere, and the government gets a cut of it, so that even enhances them to be everywhere. At first, they were like, "Oh, there's only going to be like 3 per city," and now it's just a bajillion.
3 per
Derek
block.
Butler at the Tatum Report. You can find one there. You can find one here. Gotta mute Leonarda again since she's in a wind tunnel. And UOPod.com or unauthorizedopinions.com is where you can get this. Thank you for listening on Spotify, on, I don't know, Apple, Google. Those are the ones, and watching on YouTube. My show from last week is on rebelnews.com or andrewsaystv.com. You can find it. It's with Avi and Lewis from Geneva, Switzerland. And of course, Leonarda Jonie at Leonarda is funny too, because she got banned. There she is. Parting words, Leonarda.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the wind is like picking up right now. But I would be like, just follow me there, help me get my numbers back up. I'm starting to post stuff again and then try to build my following again. So it's Leonarda is funny too, and Leonarda is funny on YouTube.
All right, there she is. She'll be dating Hans Kim in no time. To drop a Texas comedian reference. Yeah, she's nodding yes for the listeners. She says yes. Hans Kim is very
that
attractive.
joke went over
or
my
William
head.
Montgomery. William Montgomery is my favorite comedian.
I have a boyfriend. Don't you guys have you guys ever met my big black boyfriend?
No,
I did in
this, but
DC, right? In DC when we're hanging out.
Yes, you did. You met him. You met him in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Wow,
Like
that's the only
black.
reason I get away with saying everything, because they're like, oh, okay, well, all right, she's taking one for the
That's
team.
fair.
So I'm
I get away
how
with
can I
saying
forget?
everything
Like,
because
so
Eric's
okay, so
mine.
you guys will get married, and then he'll have to change his name to your
That's
last
what I'm
name.
saying. Now that we
What
have
if you
this,
both change your name to Ricky Williams?
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be like, listen, babe, you have a slave owner's last name. Why don't you take my last name and I'll be the new slave owner and everything will be fine.
Perfect.
Anyways, as they say, thank you everybody for watching. As soon as I can find the end screen, I'm going to put it on. See you guys next week.
Turn it up, Jordan.